in their terms. And now I would like to invite you to listen to a discussion that will be run by Katarzyna Sztop-Rutkowska. And I would like to invite two very important people, Ms. Jolanta Skowrońska, who works at the municipal office in Wasilków. She's responsible for promotion, communications, tourism. She does the projects such as the participatory budget, implementation of new bicycle lanes, and Jolanta cooperated with us. And from Augustów, we have Mr. Michał Kotarski joining us, who is the head of Social Affairs Administrations Department. He cooperates with NGOs, with local initiatives. He acts in the local action group, the Augustów channel, and he was the person that we consulted during the project. Thank you and hello to everybody. A big hello to my guests and a very warm one because we spent a lot of time together on the phone and in your offices, and I realized during this project how difficult your work is. I know that maybe it sounds funny, but I would like to say hello to all administration workers everywhere, because I know that you do a lot of good work in the backstage, behind the curtains, and sometimes we don't see it. But thanks to this cooperation, I realized how difficult this work is and how important it is. One of the most important conclusions from this project is, as I mentioned at the beginning, is that one of the key challenges in the implementation of innovative tech tools in the administration is that usually the administration is a big organization with its own culture, organizational culture, and the way that the things are done. So it's difficult to introduce something new. It's like this mini revolution. So that's why I would like us to be honest and open, because, it's not that I want you to say, oh, e-participation is the remedy to all problems with social consultations. It is something that is useful, and it's good to introduce it in a careful way. And it gives good effects, but time is needed to have those effects. So first, let's start with a question about the challenges. What was the biggest challenge for you at the beginning, when you started to implement the platform, Citizen Lab platform? Let's start from Wasilków. Jola, you have to switch on the mic. Okay. So it was already mentioned that for Wasilków, participatory budget was very important. We decided to join this project in order to increase the engagement of the residents into the participatory budget. I have been working on this budget for 7 years. That's the 8th edition. So for me, it was a huge challenge to do it totally online. So people were able to submit their ideas online, and they could consult them in a very transparent way. They could write their comments and so on. And finally, they were able to vote. So for me, the biggest challenge was this first project. And I'm very happy that I was able to rise to this challenge thanks to such a great cooperation that I had. I will add also that in this project, what was new and what is often lacking in participatory budgets all over Poland is that people talk about their projects and then there is this moment of deliberation, discussion, talking about it. And I think more and more often it will be happening online, and those hateful comments and communication problems will not be so big as in the social media, because the algorithms for the platforms are different. So I think that was important, that in this third project that people were able to talk about those projects and to change them before the vote. And that's true, because some projects changed through those conversations, online conversations on the platform. And I want to emphasize that that's a huge advantage of this platform, that it's not anonymous, that these are real people, real residents who are named, their names are shown, and they are aware of that, that they are signing their name under the comments. So we have the certainty that we're really talking to the people who treat us seriously, and we treat them seriously as well. We haven't mentioned that, but there is a feature of this platform that enables verification. So we can see who's talking, who's registering, and it can be done in different ways. So, Augustów now. Michał, how do you see it? What was the biggest challenge for you at the beginning? In general, I want to say that the platform is not a remedy, it's a diet supplement as far as the public consultations are concerned. I think it's like this missing link, missing element. That depends on the process, of course, but that's what it is. It's a form of support. The main problem was to convince our colleagues. Well, for me, it was not a problem, because that's what I do. In the administration, I am used to talking to residents, and I believe that this is really worthwhile because it brings benefits in the future. But I had to convince my colleagues, and we have 100 people working in our office. And there are also some cooperating affiliated companies. So I had to convince them that they should talk to the residents. Sometimes, those issues seem to be trivial, like where a bench should be placed. But then it often appeared that the residents could show us where the bench should really be, because they know better. And sometimes, it was a problem to explain it to technical workers or engineers that the bench should be in this particular place because the people believe so, because the people want to spend time there. So that was the challenge at the first stage. Like we needed a sort of a breakthrough here, make people understand that those consultations are needed and useful. And I know that in many places those consultations, they are done because they are required by the law, etc. But our vision of our town has been for many years that we want people to be engaged. We want people to have a say in what the town should look like and what should be happening here. And this platform was supposed to help in that. Another barrier was that we needed to build a team. We created a 3-person team, and that's the way we wanted it to do, because I would not be able to do it single-handedly. We had a person from the promotion department. This person was responsible for communications, etc. communication with the residents. And the third person was a person dealing with technical details. We had officials who are responsible for different fields. And, we had to bring it all together, all those elements. But I think we were successful. So, the human factor, that was the problem, as it often happens. I want to say two things. One, it's interesting that we managed to do such consultations on the platform, which were not obligatory, which were not mandatory. We planned it at the very beginning, but I have this doubt in my head that when you start this kind of projects, when you implement such platforms, should we start with something that is mandatory, that must be done, but we can do it in a better way? Now, we took a different approach. So we used this platform to have a broad public dialogue. These were not even only consultations, it was like talking to the people, to the residents, and finding out what they think about different things. So it shows you what kind of opportunities this platform offers. Not only that we can do things that must be done, but also we can have like more dialogue with the residents. And another thing that I want to mention is what is the place of participation in the municipal office, in the administration. In big administrations, there are sometimes special divisions, departments, units that deal with communication with the residents or just with the participation. But usually in Poland, it's like we have one person, one clerk who is responsible for that, and they have the burden, this huge burden on their shoulders. They have to consult so many different things like cooperation with NGOs and investments and so on. So I believe that after this implementation stage of the platform, this platform will make it easier, faster, smoother, and more centralized. So one place in the town, in the municipality, and people will know that that's the place where they can find information. And on the other hand, the officials will know that the consultations must take place there. So I want to ask you what was working well in this experience. What about combining offline and online? What was good? What worked? And what should be changed? What you realized maybe that you needed something more? Maybe we'll start from Michał this time.
Just like you mentioned, I do feel as being a specialist on roads and NGOs and a communication specialist at a municipality has to really have a broad range of knowledge, and he has to know what kind of things are happening in their municipality, in their public office. And I think that the biggest benefit of the platform is connecting all these activities, because we really weren't able to meet with everybody all the time, and like we've had our previous participatory process, we've met in one estate, in one neighborhood, to talk about how we can revitalize it. Unfortunately, the weather didn't want to cooperate with us, and it was raining so heavily that we only were able to get some feedback from our residents through the platform. And one of the last things that we've conducted was barely sending links to our staff with all the information gathered, all the input from residents that we were able to gather. And we were able to do some things very quickly, like moving some bench to a different site, doing some small repairs in a neighborhood. And what is the best effect of this kind of activity is that we do get feedback from residents stating that, well, they really didn't believe that things can be done so quickly. So the reaction time in terms of perspective from our municipality, from the perspective of our municipality, is great. And we are really speeding up our consultation process, our decision-making process, and problem-solving, basically. Because, sure, we do have to get the people, then we have to translate it to the language spoken by public officials, and it requires more work. But making these processes simple or through the platform is really better. And I also see that some people start coming back to the decision-making process because they kind of remember that this platform is used to express opinions, and there are several people like that. And it's usually very good that the people who use the platform sign their full name. They don't use anonymous accounts, anonymous profile, or Facebook profiles, which are fake, and they are used to express some controversial, vulgar opinions. But the platform is not like that, where you see the weight that you sign your name under anything you post. It's not an anonymous note just left in a letterbox and unsigned. The communication is absolutely different because anonymous notes are usually useless or valueless. And these comments made by actual people who signed their names is a lot better. What's also quite important is that using the platform, the municipality has an opportunity to form an official response to any comments from residents. So it's not only like informal consultations, informal discussions, but residents do get official responses from the municipality. What worked in Augustów, in your opinion?
Well, all those three processes were successful, I believe, and I think they worked very well. And it's very important to combine the offline and online activities. So that's what worked, and it must be continued because we will not reach everybody online. We have to be aware that there are elderly people who do not have those digital skills, and they prefer face-to-face meetings. They prefer to come and talk for debates. And the people who are working hard, they are studying, let's say they don't like public appearances, or there are people with sick children, and they would never take part in such consultations, in a traditional form, but they are very happy to get engaged when it's offered online. So the same goes for the handicapped, for instance. So equal opportunities are given to the people. This platform is very transparent. The timeline is very transparent. You can plan the activities, the whole engagement loop. And it's user-friendly. So we have participatory budget in different categories. So there are sub folders of the main folder. It's very intuitive. So when people at this platform, they can see all the processes that are planned. If they want to participate, they want to submit their idea or comment or vote, they have to register, and that's really crucial, and that's often underlined. The registration is very easy, very user-friendly, so I think that's a huge asset. We still have 10 minutes, about 10 minutes, so I will jump to the last question so that we can stick to our initial agenda, initial schedule. So the last questions. On the other side of the screen, we have mainly local government people, the people working in the local government, local authorities. So if you were supposed to give some advice to your colleagues in other municipalities, like about what they should pay special attention to, what would you say? I know that sometimes giving advice to people brings more harm than good, but let's try. I mean, you have this experience that was done for the first time in Poland, the first this type of implementation in Poland, because Citizen Lab had only been working in other countries, in the US, in Western Europe, but here in Poland it was for the first time. So what would you say? What tips would you give? What should they pay attention to, those people who will be trying to implement such a platform in their municipality? Why is it worthwhile to have it?
I'd like to start with my team. I wish everybody had such a great team as I have. We can divide our duties, we can plan involvement, we can precisely plan who's responsible for what. And this plan is very detailed. We've elaborated very thoroughly. We've established our objectives, our stakeholders, our recipients, our ambassadors. What kind of processes can we use in terms of participation? Communication is key. Cohesive communication is very important. It has to be cohesive, that you know that any type of information conveyed relates to one specific project or this specific project. It's very important to have effective councils. Youth councils, senior councils are very important if they get engaged participants who can advise us in elaborating the participatory process. I think a lot of what you said is kind of building around the idea of participation, social dialogue, and surrounding yourself with people who are very conscious, very involved. Some things worked, some things didn't work, but I do believe that around the platform, around the idea of communicating with citizenship, I think we can gather a lot more people who are really involved and engaged, such as the ambassadors you mentioned. And the ambassadors in Wasilków, I think we have a man called Wojciech Winogrodzki, who is absolutely active and who promoted the idea of consultations around any platforms, any social media on Facebook and so on. So I think this is an absolutely added value to participation, because if we really think that it's an important aspect, the platform allows you to really build a community around it. What's your opinion, Michał? I agree. I agree that community is key. Municipality has to be absolutely in favor of this idea, of this concept. And I believe that in Augustów, in our municipality, we do strongly follow this idea, and our mayor gave the mandate, and he also believed that. So the human element is key. Cooperating with NGOs is absolutely important. Cooperating with advisory bodies like the Senior Council, the Youth Council, they are very active and they can do a lot of work for us, for our municipality, just like NGOs do. And we know that we can't be everywhere. And these people can actually put our idea forward, and they are reliable. They are trusted in their local communities, and this has to be fostered. Cooperation with them needs to be cherished and needs to be fostered. And this is something, this can be done by things that are easy, simple, and pleasant, like the mural festival or the participatory budget, which is not an easy thing, but it's something that's already familiar to our residents, because we know that if we have a new idea to implement, we have to convince people that this is something new, something that works, because we often heard that, well, they won't be clicking any links because it's a virus, my money will be stolen. So we actually used the platform to consult on the mural idea, and it worked, and became a reality only after 1 month. So our residents saw that this is something that actually works and is useful. So what I suggest is using simple projects, simple and pleasant projects that are not some long-term endeavors, but then can be implemented really quickly, and their effects are visible. Our murals are all across our town. Everybody can see them and sees that they are actually created thanks to the use of the platform and thanks to consultations. Another thing that I find important is educating people using the platform on like our town holidays, preparing some scenarios for school activities so that they can actually be used by teachers, saying how the platform can be used for younger generations. Again, thank you very much. Thank you for the cooperation that we've had, the late nights that we've spent. And I think that a very important summary for this discussion, and this is actually mentioned in the book, is that using the participatory platform is often a political decision. Thank you to the mayors that are with us today. Thank you for making this decision, taking this step, because it has to come from a mayor of a town, a head of a municipality. They have to give the green light for getting involved in dialogue and getting involved in participation.
I want to add one more thing. I want to say to other local governments that you can only benefit from talking to the residents, because if we talk to the people, then we, as like the mayors, the councillors, we will become more trustworthy, because people will know that the officials know what they want, yes, and they can act on it. So that's listening to the people, and that brings you a lot, really, and especially in smaller municipalities, but also bigger ones. That's how we build the civic society. So it's worthwhile to consult things with the residents. And finally, well, that was a very nice conclusion, but I still want to add something. I would like to convince others, and I would like to say that at first, okay, you need time to prepare, you need to work to start something new, but it makes sense, because in the long run you save time, the communication is easier, and it brings different elements together. So it's this policy of one door. We know that there is one place where we can find things. The new technologies must be used. We know that, that's obvious. So it's not the question whether we should use them, but just how we should use them. So that's all from me. I give back the floor to the studio. Thank you very much.